Anytime there is uncertainty, leadership is needed more than ever. Right now, with the COVID-19 pandemic running its course through our nation, through our economy, and throughout the world, there is a need for leaders to step up. The reality is, however, is that you as a leader won't be able to fulfill your potential and offer the help that you otherwise could if you don't have a strong mindset. This episode is going to give you 3 key principles that you're going to need to embody and improve upon in order to be that leader that we need you to be. I can't wait for you to hear this episode. It's going to be a great one for you to listen to and for you to share with others. Thanks for tuning in. All right, welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddard. Very excited about today's episode. I have a very good friend of mine on, and we're going to give you 3 tips to having a strong mindset amidst a volatile market. Let me just remind you, my mission and my passion are to do the following, are to help you to wake up and recognize the potential inside of you, and then to inspire you and help you to live a life in pursuit of that potential. And I can't think of anybody better today to help me inspire you and help you to live in pursuit of your potential than Trevor Hammond. Trevor, before I give a full intro of you, thanks for coming on the show today, man.
Good morning. Happy to be here, as always.
As always. I love our conversations. You know, they probably started 5 years ago. Trevor and I scheduled a 30-minute sit-down coffee meeting 2.5 hours later, and we're like, man, this is one of my buddies. Like, this guy thinks like I think. We've just had a great time ever since, helping build each other's businesses. It's been awesome. So thanks, Trevor, for all you do. For those that don't know Trevor, he is a branch manager of the top Sierra Pacific mortgage loan officer branch in the country. Currently, they are absolutely killing it. And a lot of that, I believe, is under Trevor's leadership, both in attracting great talent and then helping that great talent really, really thrive. So he's also a mortgage coach. So I should say a coach to mortgage loan officers and a consultant to the end consumer. So anyway, and all of that, even more importantly, is the way that he dotes on his family, which I absolutely love.
Yeah,
that's what this is all about, right? Is that we think bigger so that we have a quality life. And I know you and I right now are having more time at home, much like our audience, than ever before because of the COVID-19 outbreak, which of course is causing some of the volatility, if not all the volatility. So Trevor, really quick, again, thank you for coming on. And I want to begin with this question. You're a dad and a husband, somebody who thrives in having a great work-life balance. Give all of us a quick tip before we get into the 3 tips for having a strong mindset of being productive at home. What does that look like for you?
You know, I think I was already fairly groomed for this. It's a great question because everybody's trying to figure that out right now, right? It was forced upon a lot of us. I was one of those people that I was already more productive at home than I was at the office. You know, I think the perspective there is, and some people maybe don't have the freedom to figure that out, right? Because you do need to be at the office. But at the office, there's a lot of, hey, you got a minutes, right? At home, you don't have that. Or you can at least shield yourself from it more. You know, you can choose to, turn the phone over, right? Or silence it. And then I have a home office here. You know, I just set it up the same way my office at work was months ago. And I'm upstairs, and we turned the movie room into my home office so that I could read, feed this bad boy here, and just have my quiet space, And then when the kiddos do come up now, like they do, because it's spring break, right? Sometimes it's a welcome interruption just to be here with them. So.
And I totally agree. In fact, in the background, I heard a little chirping from my 2-year-old. So they're given strong orders to not come down during the broadcast, but you never know. We might have a little more fun than people expect.
Yeah, so I was working yesterday, and my 9-year-old, 10-year-old in a few days was vacuuming around my feet. I'm like, the last time you vacuumed, buddy? I was like, this is awesome. The house has never been so clean and organized ever.
It really is. It's interesting. I thought this would be like the least productive place in the world. I'll tell you what, just the joy and satisfaction of being around family more often, I think it's making me like really productive, actually. I'm kind of rethinking my setup, kind of moving forward after this all passes. Yeah. So let's get into these 3 points, Trevor. Obviously, right now, we have a very volatile market, right? Mortgage rates are in the low 3s. They're close to 5, like within a day. I mean, there's just some crazy stuff going on. Yeah. And I know we could get into the weeds, and you'd be probably more qualified than anybody to kind of talk about the ins and outs of the numbers. But this episode we're really dedicating to helping people to have a strong mindset despite all of that. Walk us through, I know we've identified 3 points, really you have, 3 points three principles by which we can live that will help us to have that strong mindset. Would you mind going into the first for us?
Yeah, I loved when you posed that to me. It forced me to really stop and think about, how am I keeping such a positive mindset? You and I are very similar in that we understand we've got to be that voice of calm when there is panic everywhere. Whether it's you as a parent, you as a friend, you as a leader of a team, to your clients, to your business partners, everybody is responding very differently, and that kind of ties into the second one we'll talk about today. I know that I threw your way, but number one's gratitude. Just being grateful, which scientifically, we've studied this for a long time, and it's out there. But the simplest way I've always put gratitude is at the very moment you're grateful for something, you cannot be fearful of something at that moment. It's impossible, right? Because our brains can only think of one thing at a time. So, if we think of our brains as kind of a storage shelf, there's only so much room on that shelf, right? Just like my bookshelves behind me, there's only so much room. So if I'm on the news a lot, right, which obviously makes money by feeding us negative news, and there's truth in there, we got to dig a little bit. And I won't get into that because everybody's got their own opinions of it. Or we could, hey, whatever, why not? We've got to put a lot of positive stuff on there. So, I think about starting my day with gratitude, and amidst a really, what could be considered scary times, definitely uncertain times, right? And that's probably the biggest problem right now is nobody knows, right, how long this might last and what the real impact's going to be. I'm grateful that I even have a really nice home to be stuck in. I'm grateful my family is healthy. I'm grateful for the extra time. So some people are already they're like, oh my gosh, get me out of this house. We've got to turn that around and go, I'm grateful for the time with my kids. I'm grateful that we're playing games, board games we haven't played in forever. My son almost beat me in chess yesterday, sitting by the fire. I'm grateful for those times, right? My wife and daughter created a dance studio and an exercise studio in our garage. I think that was Monday. I was up here kind of working and plugged in, and they said, come down, I have a surprise. I could not believe what they did. So I'm grateful that all those are happening. I'm grateful we're having a lot of people are having tough economic times, but I've got to remind myself and my team, of course, that there's a lot of stress and uncertainty, as I said, but we're having a record year. We're able to help so many families right now in the mortgage side of things save a lot of money. And ironically, now coming at a very good time for a lot of people. The fear has driven mortgage rates down. And yes, volatility is off the charts like I've never seen in my 21 years. But we're still saving a lot of money for a lot of people, right? From a mortgage planning standpoint. So I can go on and on, but I think the key is you and I and everybody start your day with gratitude, take a break for 2 minutes and just go, what are all the things I'm grateful for? What is the good in all this? As I said, I don't know, I did a video a few weeks ago, but what if this is all happening for us, right? Instead of to us. That's the mindset, because it's creating a lot of good. We're taking a lot of family walks. I've been out running outside more than ever. Usually I'm stuck on a treadmill at the gym and nobody even realizes I'm around. Now I'm running through the neighborhood and you're waving from distance, to people you see. Like that's all happening because of this. So that is gratitude.
Man, I think your point, Trevor, that this is happening for us, not to us. If you look at the silver linings of what's happening, and again, my heart genuinely goes out to those that are suffering. I know there's some even in our local real estate community that have suffered with this already. Yeah. And I'm sure there's going to be more, right? And some may not have a happy ending, right? And my heart hurts for them and for other parts of the world where there's total devastation happening. I don't think in any way our gratitude overshadows or lessens the compassion we can feel for other people. But I do think that it keeps our mindset right and straight so that we can help other people, right? If we're living in a state of panic and in a state of fear and scarcity, it gets really hard to help other people, similar to the oxygen mask on an airplane, right? I see your point there about gratitude being so profound. I know I actually had once written the affirmation of fill my life with so many good things that I don't have space for the bad ones. I don't have space for temptation. I don't have space for, the things that are going to get in the way of where I'm headed. And I heard you say that with regards to gratitude. You're right. If you fill your heart and your life with gratitude, it gets hard to dwell on, let alone have any room at all for those things that are going to be a deterrent. And, the things that are truly not as great right now, So I'd love that. It's such a profound.
I would say too, I think a key point that you're reminding me of is it's a muscle you have to develop. There could be people watching this either now or at some point in the future, and there's going to be a lot of yeah buts, and they're going to say, yeah, but this is what's happening to me, and yeah, but I'm dealing with this and you're not. We all have those. We all have them. Nobody knows everybody else's stories. You have to find, as little as it can be, it's a habit you form. You can be grateful for the fact that the sun's peeking through the clouds for 2 minutes here in Portland, right? You can be grateful that you've got a stocked refrigerator. You might have just lost your job, right? You might have a sick family member. You might be missing out on somebody you love's birthday, because you can't get together. But you've got to find 3 to 5 things to get your mindset straight, because people will be attracted to you when you're that calm, positive person, even in the midst of a lot of negativity. I don't want to come around you if you're going to be negative all the time. I can open up my phone news feed and get all that. I will be plenty depressed in about 2 minutes seeing what's going on in the world. It's real, right? And we'll have our perspectives on it, but it doesn't mean I have to play that game. Yeah. I got to keep my positive to show up for you, right? And you got to do it for your family, and that's what people need around us. Our family needs that. So people will flock to that lower frequency person, right? I'm just,
taking a quote out of one of my mentor's books where he says, success is your duty. It's your obligation. I think even gratitude is your duty. Gratitude is your obligation. Like, yes, there's things that are in your life right now, in our lives right now, that aren't perfect, that we would want to be better. But if you were to compare yourself to people, living in Italy right now, or living in China right now, whether or not coronavirus is here or not, they would look at your life and be like, oh my goodness, I would love to have that life. Oh, if only I could be in that spot. If only I could be in the US. If only I could be in that industry. If only I could, if only. So I think that hopefully gives us some perspective to realize how much we truly do have grateful for. And I agree with you, is that the more that you express gratitude, the more people like that are going to be attracted to you, right? Like attracts like. If you're a dramatic person and always looking for what's wrong, you're naturally going to be in conversations with and having people come to you who want to be in that same mode because it's comfortable. And so start changing it. For me, the tactical application of that is I get up first thing in the morning, and the very first thing I do is write at least 3 gratitudes. I'm sure your practice is similar, but it just gets my mind right. And then I go through a series of other activities that are part of my morning routine. That's like behind prayer, which is full of gratitude. It's literally like the very first thing that I write down is what am I grateful for? It forces that.
Yeah. If you can bookend your day that way, I think if anybody had a to-do, start your day with that. Like you just said, 3 things I'm grateful for. End your day. The same time when you're going to bed, go to bed with a grateful mind. And I'm not doing that every night, right? It might be a family movie night and I forget to do it or something right when I go to bed. But if you could start creating that habit of what was I grateful for today now that it ended, looking back, because a lot of times we go to bed thinking about all things that we didn't get done or that didn't happen. And that's the opposite of what you and I are talking about. It's what good did come from the day, and finish your day with that. And then start your next day with the same thing.
I had a basketball coach that would always teach that the team that gets Big Mo on their team wins. He actually ended up being voted he got an award as the top high school basketball coach in the country. And to this day, that lesson stands out, is that Big Mo is momentum. And I think when you look at, like you said, Trevor, the wins, you end up recruiting Big Mo. You end up realizing like, man, I got it going on. Like it's happening. It's like, I'm doing some stuff. And you're
I like that.
Recruiting Big Mo. Let's move on to point number 2, Trevor. Was it humility? Is that the one that we did? Okay. Humility.
Yeah.
Talk to us about humility.
Humility. Actually I have the book here. So I read this book a long time ago called Aspire. Actually, had named my team the Aspire Group back in 13, right, when we started it. And what this, the author, if anybody is interested, is Kevin Hall's the author. And I'd seen him speak, and he goes through and breaks down keywords. Humility was one that really stuck out to me because I'd always kind of confused humble with humility. And they're totally different. Humility is being teachable and coachable, right? It's being open-minded. It's carrying yourself every day, understanding that we can learn from everybody around us, right? I don't come into like this, conversation with you thinking I'm just going to teach you. I'm going to learn from you, right? And there are people that are going to watch this that I could learn from. So humility is the reason that's so profound to me right now in the marketplace that we're dealing with, and in the health crisis we're dealing with, recession talk we're dealing with, is you see people polarizing, right? We see it in politics all the time, right? Which drives me crazy around politics. But really there's people who believe this and there's people who believe that. And you don't see a lot of humility. These people don't feel like they can learn from these people. And these people don't feel like, right, it's confirmation bias. We've heard all these terms. And humility is listening to both sides and saying that side believes they're right just as much as that side believes they're right. And everyone coming to this conversation has a different background of information and data and experiences leading to their belief system. And that's just the reality of it. It is. So we can sit there and argue over things, but nobody's trying to understand the other side. Nobody's trying to learn often if you really step back and watch it happening. Some people like nuts in their, chocolate, and some people don't, right? Some people like peanut butter in the chocolate and some don't, right? It's okay. Like, let me try that peanut butter in the chocolate. That's pretty good, right? Like, it doesn't have to be this big global political thing. It can be little things, from Democrat versus Republican to just what I believe is going on right now. You see this huge divide with, we've got to get people back to work, right? Or the economy is going to implode and fall apart, right? And we just had, I believe, over 3 million people file for unemployment because the unemployment came out today. That's horrible, right? And so there's one side saying we've got to get back to work. We're overreacting to this whole, coronavirus, COVID-19. There's other people saying that's ridiculous. You're going to kill millions of people if you do that. Everyone has their beliefs around that. And so humility is just saying, let me learn from everybody. I don't have to take a side. I don't have to just be, this is the only right answer. So that's my thoughts around humility, and not just right now in this crazy time. It's a year-round way of living. When I come in and I run a mastermind with my team, like we did virtually Tuesday, I had happy hour, virtually through Zoom with my team. They're my board of advisors. Yeah, I'm the leader and I have the title, but I learn from them. And a lot of maturity is realizing, yeah, I've got a lot of answers, but I don't have them all. They have a lot of answers as well. And they can teach me a lot of things. And that's humility.
Yeah. I mean, I love what you said, Trevor. I think the people that I admire most, almost the leaders that I want to follow the most are those that I feel like are still learning as well. I think that all of us want to follow someone who has everything figured out, but the reality is nobody does. And I think if you can position yourself as, I'm constantly recreating myself, I'm constantly evolving into something bigger and better, it gives people the assurance that hey, I want to follow you because you've got the best information that I can see now, and I'm convinced with the way that you're open to learning that if you don't have it now, you're going to have it in the future, and you're going to stay on top of it, you're going to stay ahead of it. I think it's a key leadership principle, as well as even just the life principle of looking at these circumstances to say, what could I have done different? Could I have been better prepared for this downturn? Could I have better prepared my customers for this downturn? Could I have better prepared my family from a health standpoint? Like every time maybe it looks like there's a failure around you, if we were to look at that instead and say, that's just simply feedback. Failure isn't failure. Failure is feedback. And you take that feedback and you say, what can I learn from this? as opposed to being bitter, as opposed to being upset or pointing the finger at somebody didn't prepare me, somebody owes me something. It's like, no, what could I have done here to be better prepared for this? What's the feedback that I'm getting from life, from natural consequences of my decisions? And how can I reposition myself next time to be better suited to be in a better spot as well as to help other people? And I love that. I think humility is such a powerful way to keep your mindset stable, to say like, hey, you know what? You're right. I wasn't totally prepared for this, and that's okay. I'm going to learn from this. And I think it takes the pressure off. I think all of us are living in a society where we feel like we have to do everything perfect, like we can't mess up. Whereas what I hear you teaching us is that humility gives us almost a permission to be human, permission to be ourselves, which gives other people permission to be themselves, and takes the pressure off. And all of this, this pent up, stress that people are feeling, they can just let go of a lot of it to say, you know what, I'm starting where I am now and I'm going to get better.
I'll give you a great example. I just thought of while you were sharing that. So I coach a lot of mortgage professionals. I've coached a lot of real estate professionals. I coach financial advisor professionals. I love coaching, right? I learn it, right? I mean, this is about 2/3 of my book supply behind me. I learn it, I go apply it, then I like to teach other people. That's just how I'm wired. A lot of people have been frozen lately about calling either their clients, right? Their homeowners, their business partners, because they don't really believe they have the answers for whatever that person's dealing with or struggling with. And my advice has been, just call them and just be there for them. That's all you got to do. You don't have to have any answers. Google has all your answers, by the way. Just go talk to them. Just say a lot of my advice right now, whether it's a mortgage professional, just call in their real estate partner. Just say, how you doing? I've been sending some texts out to various people. Just, how you doing? That's all I want to know. People I care about. I don't have to have any answers. I could have zero of the answers of whatever they're struggling with. Sometimes I have an answer, a thought. Sometimes I don't. That's not the point. And so that all ties back to humility. You know, if you're in the mortgage business watching this, because I know you have a lot of mortgage folks that might watch this as well, just be on the phone. I know a lot of people are looking to refinance a home, but there's a lot of people that don't need that. They just need you to call and be empathetic, which was almost one of the words I brought to this, was empathetic. You know, empathy, just put yourself in other people's shoes, right? But humility means I'm just going to call clients I helped a year or two ago or 5 years ago and just see how you're doing. How's your family? Are you guys healthy? Are you okay being stuck at home have you figured out the home life? Are you getting some exercise? That's all you have to do. And that is having massive humility about who you are and what you can bring to others. Powerful
stuff, man. Let's move to point number 3, optimism. We need to optimism.
Yeah.
Talk to us about what optimism means to you, and more specifically, how it helps us have, again, a strong mindset amidst a volatile market.
Yeah, I think it's a good capper on if you have to pick 3 mindsets, right? We've got gratitude, humility, and then optimism. I live by a belief that we always have to be creating a bigger, better future for ourselves than anything we've ever done in the past. That is a mindset I live by all the time, and I teach it to other people. We've all met people that talk about their glory days all too often, right? And they've stopped thinking what's ahead of them is better than anything behind them. And I don't subscribe to that at all. So optimism then is about, how will we come out of this? What's the good coming from this? How will this create new opportunities in the face of adversity, right? Because these are the times that you have an opportunity to rise to new levels. Might not be what you predict. We don't always know how this will happen, but if you bury your head and wait for this to all go away, you will lose ground on people like myself, my team, you, the people that are jumping on this to be that voice of calm. And I think I'm very optimistic about that. I'm optimistic right now about how fast technology will become the norm for a lot of the folks you and I know. If they didn't know how to use Zoom before, They were not prepared, but guess what? They probably know how to use Zoom really well by now. And it's only been a few weeks of this stuff. I'm optimistic about that because now you'll be so much more efficient in your day in working with clients that aren't near you, right? That's an optimism way of looking at things. I think stuff that's happening right now, and you guys, you may have read this as well, but I agree with what's happening right now is going to possibly, most likely, reshape an entire generation of how we approach things, much like the Great Depression reshaped the mindsets of people back then. And you and I just maybe couldn't always understand that. And it's not in a negative way. I think healthcare will be reformed from this. I learned this week, back when I was learning all the time, that I couldn't understand how restaurants could close their doors so fast. It just boggled my mind. Like, they announce it, right? And they're doing takeout, and then 2 days later, they're out of business. I couldn't understand that. I learned that restaurants, on average, carry 2 to 3 days of cash. That's it. And the most financially astute ones have about a week of cash. To me, that doesn't sound like a good business model. That if one little thing comes along, no, not even as catastrophic as what we're dealing with. So I see industries like that going, maybe we should have more cash on hand, for the what ifs. It's the same as with families, right? Back in 08, 09, being in the mortgage industry, I followed the life lesson, right? We have to have 6 months of reserves socked away in our bank account. I learned really quickly 6 months was not nearly enough, depending on what industry you were in. And I'll tell you, I've socked a lot more than 6 months away now. Not just in the last 3 months of fearing this, over the last years and years, putting way more money away because it reshaped my thinking of how to protect myself and my family. So I'm optimistic that, once again, this would be a good reminder to people to not live on the edge too much financially, right? I'm optimistic about how much toilet paper people will have on hand all the time from here on out, right? I'm gonna have a whole shelf in my garage, right, for the toilet paper someday they need.
Hey, just a side note there. My bidet hose shows up today. That's probably way TMI. But I don't need toilet paper. I'm competing at a whole new level, baby.
I love it. So optimism, again, it kind of goes back to gratitude. I think they're very closely tied. When you're grateful for things, even in the midst of a lot of a negative environment, a lot of fear, when you're grateful for even the smallest things, it ties right into you're optimistic about things. But optimism in my case is, how will we come out of this 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 18 months from now, right? Who are we becoming as a result of this? What are our children learning? I don't know all the answers to this, but we'll find out. What are our children learning? How fast are our schools learning to embrace technology to be able to educate our children virtually? Some were prepared somewhat, some were not prepared at all for this. Coming out of this, they're going to be better at that in all ways. So a lot of cool things are happening from this. In small businesses, I think it's like us and our personal savings habits. Small businesses will probably start being more astute with their money, right? And not as fearful as they probably are right now, because they didn't have enough socked away to cover their business and cover their staff for enough time. Well, so I'm very optimistic always.
It goes back to what you said, Trevor, is that this is happening for us, not to us, right? And if you can realize that the future is brighter than the past, I also heard you say that then we can look at this and say, all right, like, how is my life going to be different, right? Not just the humility that we described earlier of what can I learn from this, as if there was some sort of failure, but no, like, what's next? Like, of course it's going to be better. Of course we're going to make it better. Of course things are going to get better. And I'm just curious as to what that's going to look like. And I think as we can go into our weeks and our months and the upcoming years like that, of like, it's only going to get more exciting. It's going to get better. I think about this amount of time that I have now to influence my children, right? Normally I was out of the house by 7 and I was home by 6. And by that point, from 6 p.m. to 8, it's kind of like, get people fed, get them bathed, get their teeth brushed, say prayers, get them to bed. And there wasn't a whole lot of time to really interact with them during the day. I'd really turned over so much of the education and the formation of my kids to people who I don't really know. And I trust that they're wonderful people, but they're not me, right?
Yeah.
And they're not, they get the joy of seeing that growth. I don't. And it's even caused me to think like, how could this look differently, right? And I'm optimistic that, the future workplace is going to look different, because we're all going to realize we only have so much time with our kids before they're no longer kids. And then forever they're adults. And how is this going to shape my interaction with them and the way that I set up my day to where I can be more a part of their life than ever before, right? That's something I'm optimistic about. I'm excited about it. I didn't realize this was possible. And now I'm realizing that I'm maybe just as, if not more productive than I've ever been. I do miss my work family, right? I would like to spend more time with them, but I think that you can have both. And I think, again, having that kind of optimistic flair on looking at this moving forward of like, boy, this is going to get good. This is going to get exciting. Yeah. And things are only going to get better. How are they going to get better? And it just becomes like a curiosity, right? Of like, how is this going to get better? Like,
well, and even drill it down to that littlest piece, like I said, about gratitude, right? At the very moment you're being grateful for something, you can't be fearful for something. It happens the same way when I am optimistic. At that moment, my mind is focused on being optimistic. It cannot at that very same time be pessimistic. It just doesn't work that way. I can't be both at the same time. I can flip back and forth really, really fast and not realize I'm doing it. But so I want to suffocate all the pessimism with optimism as much as I can. I want to be real. Absolutely. We're not going to live in la la land, but we're going to be optimistic, because again, that's what people will be attracted to. That's what our family needs from us, to look at what the good is that will come from all of this, and the opportunities, like with our family, with our kids. There is a lot to be optimistic about in all of this. Yes, there's a lot of bad and fear, and there's some real stuff going on right now. So it's up to us to dig in and really find things to be optimistic about, to be grateful for, to learn from, right? Have that humility. We have to find it. I don't have a rainbow sitting over my house that you don't have at your house, right? I'm not just living in some different world. I've got to find it. And that's a decision you and I have to make every day, to live this way and think this way and lead others this way.
Yeah. 100% agree. You've got to create this, right? You've got to be proactive at going and getting these things. They're not going to just come to you or show up. They're like, the news isn't going to give it to you. You've got to go create it yourself. And, the beautiful thing is, I believe that there's a power inside of each of us to actually do that. I want to point out a comment here in the comments. Cheryl Draney, who I get the great privilege of working with day in and day out, her comment is, optimism is contagious and it creates its own energy. Isn't that interesting? Creates its own. Yeah. It's almost as if optimism is it's like synergy, right? It creates this other being almost, right? That this new like force moving forward. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Cheryl. Great stuff. Great. So anyway, I want to thank everybody who tuned in and shared your comments. Trevor, one last question that becomes the signature question of this show, which is, you're a big thinker. There's people both at home as well as many, many in the workforce, your branch, your company, all those that you coach and inspire, that see you as a big thinker. So thank you for being that way. Can you teach us what Trevor Hammond does to continue to expand your possibilities, to continue to be a big thinker?
Number one, I read every day. Read. If it's 15 minutes, all you have, start your day with reading. That's what I do. You see all these books I've read. I look forward every morning to getting up. I get my cup of coffee and I read, and that expands my mind. That it gives me things to talk about with people throughout the day. It opens my mind to other big thinkers. So reading every day is what I do as a conscious habit of thinking bigger. That'd be my number one thing. Is invest in yourself. I spend, and I don't mind ever sharing this, I spend a lot of money on being coached. I spend close to, I think I've added it up sometimes, it's crazy, but I spend about $50,000 a year on being coached. So you consider me a coach to a lot of other people. But what people have to remember is I invest more than that on my own self, being coached to get better, to expand my mind, to not let me get into these mental prisons I could get myself into. So we have to take a percentage of what we make to grow ourselves, to invest in our own growth, because our kids need that, our spouses need that, our teams need that, our clients need that. They pay us for our ideas and our advice and understanding things at a higher level. So reading and investing in yourself to learn from other people that maybe are where you hope to be, you think.
Love that, man. So powerful. Every conversation I have with you, I leave a better person. I want to thank you for that.
Ditto, man.
There's
Ditto.
thousands and thousands that would attest to the same thing. So I want to thank you for again, helping us to have a strong mindset amidst a volatile market. It's been fantastic. Those that are listening, I would encourage you to go subscribe to the podcast. If you're Apple or Android, you can find Think Bigger Real Estate. Any one of those. Also on YouTube, search my name, Justin Stoddart, and you'll find the past episodes. That would be huge. Also, my final request of everybody listening here today, they're 3 simple words, and they are a charge and an invitation to go forward, apply what Trevor has taught us to do, which are to go think bigger. Trevor, thank you so much for helping us do that today, for being the kind of person that we can follow and look to. You're the man. I appreciate you, buddy.
Keep up the amazing work, Justin. This is such a good platform you have, and keep bringing the wisdom to everybody. We love it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.